Hello and welcome back to another week of the DP World Tour picks and bets. Skylar, Hoak here, joined by Ryan Baroff this morning, kicking it off on a Monday, going right into the Bahrain Championship. Patrick Reed, winner in Dubai. I guess quick thoughts there, high level. We seeing P. Reed winning the Masters this year?
No, but it's nice to have him relevant. You know, he's really been playing okay. Not necessarily on live, but those Asian Tour events, he's been very solid. And of course, we've seen him pop up in some majors. So happy that he's relevant. He seemed to open the door a little bit to him coming back at some point, maybe next year as well. So, and I think he's officially on the Ryder Cup radar for Adair Manor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if that's the focus for him, which of all people, it does seem like Ryder Cup is as relevant as ever in what he wants to do. So to do that, you're probably definitely either going to need to win at least one major between now and then, or be back full time on the tour. But it will be nice to have him quite often in the DP World Tour events. He's coming here to Bahrain. The only, I guess we kind of got our heart rips out on the back nine from a David Puig potential run at him. The late penalty just was kind of the cherry on top. You can't play with the bunkers, especially when you're playing with Patrick Reed. So but I think we had the overall right approach. It was good for P to get that over the line. And now we kind of get into what is, I would say, like our bread and butter of the DP World Tour. Like this is what you and I and Tom, we live for this stretch of events, right? We're in the Bahrain Championship, over to Qatar next, Magical Kenya Open, and then back-to-back weeks in South Africa to close out this international swing. And we also, outside of Reed and like Sergio coming over, I think there's a couple other live guys playing. We get really pretty much what we're going to have for this year on the DP World Tour. And we look at the overall odds, right? Patrick Reed, 14-1. Jaden Schaper, 14-1. Angel Aora, 16. Daniel Hillier, 17. Dietrich, 20-1 is the clear top five on the odds boards. You and I are entering this event really entertaining this group. If there was there any that kind of made you double take at all?
I was going to go back to Daniel Hillier probably, but I saw him. I think he wasn't past 16-1. So, but he would have been the guy. He's just been so consistent, and obviously he's shown winning upside. But I'm not getting there under 20-1 this week. No.
Yeah, the big thing really, I think, of this group for me, I've been kind of getting heavy into like the underdog streets, right? Best ball. They have a majors only contest that's now launched. Schaper is 50th in the world rankings as of this exact moment. If you're inside the top 50, just before the Masters, you would be getting that automatic invite. And if you get into the Masters, it's a good chance that you have a really strong opportunity to play all four majors in the year. And it kind of seems like that's the ceiling for what we might get out of him. It's just happened. I don't want to say it happened like so quicker than we thought, because we've been betting him since he was 17 years old. But this tier has been flipped immediately for him to now be one of the world's best.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I forgot. I am still very high on Laurie Cantor. I did hit him here last year. I'm not going to bet him this week at that number, but that's a guy who could also get inside the top 50. Wouldn't be surprised to see him playing all four majors this year.
Yeah, and he needs to play these type of events, and I like it when these guys come over. It does make the fields more interesting. The one that I ended up selecting from the top, and again, if we talk about kind of betting players as they grow into their careers, we've been thinking about Wen Yiding since he was, at Arizona State and making relevant noise in professional events as an amateur. He's just been priced appropriately pretty much since the jump, and I've been trying to kind of tee up when I thought it made the most sense. And it seems like the last kind of closing of 2025 and then starting off decently last week was to me, at least, when he's finally hit his stride. He did have a stretch of 4 top 20s in a row in this same swing last year as a rookie into Kenya, Joburg, in China for his best finish. But then he went, runner up at the BMW Australian PGA, top 20 in the Australian Open. And then last week, T19 for him. He is 40-1 right now. And we're getting, I guess, more and more data on his game. He's probably better off the tee than I anticipated, at least from an ability to get it with distance. I know a lot of young players have that in them, but I think he is starting to show some strides in that game. I think overall well-rounded, and he's probably one of the players we wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in that 18 to 25-1 for the majority of the season. If he's just to that caliber, he could easily get a PGA Tour card if he plays to that level all year. So I think at 40-1 at an event, to me, that I have been a little bit more driver heavy with, I just think he's got a well-rounded game, and there's still some price discovery.
I agree. Yeah, he's still exceptionally young. I think all of us are very high on him. He was probably my last cut this week. I just he's not great at anything. I think, like you said, he's very well rounded. He seems to be good at everything, but in this field, yeah, he's for sure one of the best talents.
Who did you end up going with? And Ding, like, again, this off the tee game is a little bit more variant. I mean, he opened, really hit a really popping round 2 with it. The weekend, it did kind of do him in, but I mean, he scored a bunch. He could have definitely played better than that T19, 72-72 on the weekend. But I just think for price there. But who did you end up going with in shorter odds?
Yeah, so I was planning to skip the top, but I've been enamored with Julian Guerrier the last few weeks. He played well down in South Africa over the winter, was third in Dubai last week, and then he was third again in Dubai last week. He's played here in Bahrain in both of the last 2 years. I believe both are inside the top 25, maybe even inside the top 20. We did see him finally get across the line, not last summer, but the summer before. So that was kind of the big knock on him, was that he couldn't win, but he showed that he can win. And he's also really good off the tee, plenty long, plenty accurate, and an above average putter, I think, in this field with the recent form. Anything over 28-1 on him, I would take. I got a 35 this morning.
Yeah, I mean, you like to bet Ryan Gerard in his runner-ups. You like the T3 consistencies here. I mean, if each way's pay, I mean, that's part of the game too. And you have shorter odds guys winning the events. There was a golfer, without a doubt, I was betting this week. I looked at him and ended up betting him last week as well. The odds have shortened, but Alejandro Del Rey, if I talk about off-the-tee specialists, he is the one that always jumps to me. He just hasn't capitalized it. And I say that because Tom and I talked last week. You forget that he won in Ras Al Khaimah last year to open up the season and then never sniffed a PGA Tour card the entire year. Nope. So I guess, I still think the ceiling for him is so high. When we got to see him, I still kind of remember that 23 US Open at LACC where he had even some moments in a missed cut and showed how good he could be off the tee. Dubai, he was great. Last week, he was awesome off the tee. Ended up T26 on the week. Kind of priced in that, I don't know if course fit, he's 50-1, 53s. DraftKings has these weird morning prices still listed. But I just think at this type of style for me, I'm not passing on someone who, even at shorter odds than I bet him last week, I just love the fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both said it. We're targeting off the tee, especially driving distance here. He's played well here. And yeah, he is elite off the tee. And like, honestly, he makes a lot of cuts for as sort of wild and inconsistent as he feels. He does make a lot of cuts. So I could definitely get behind Del Rey here.
Yeah, it's just really like, do you stick with him? And Tom and I chatted last week. Do you stick with the guys you feel confident in despite price cuts? I'm trying to double check the odds. I mean, I had him at 200-1 last week, right? The flip that I really had, was I trust him. Like Lindbergh also got the exact same cut. Lindbergh, I bet him at 150, I think last week, 190 last week. He's also in this 50s range. I had to pick between the two of them. Lindbergh was the first round leader or just behind Patrick Reed last week. But he just hasn't shown the ability to capitalize on the opportunities he puts himself on the leaderboard. So I ended up with Del Rey between the two of those guys. But who else do you dig in the middle range?
Yeah, so I bounced all the way up. I guess there's some numbers in the 40s and 50s, but there is a 60-1 out there on old friend Martin Kuvra, who I know both of us are very, very high on, especially in these sorts of fields, right? He can win a lot of different ways. He has plenty long and straight off the tee. One of the best iron players on the DP World Tour. He's coming off a fourth place finish in Dubai last week, where I believe he was fourth in strokes gained tee to green behind Reed Guerrier and Victor Hovland. So anything over 50, I love him this week. We saw him win in Turkey last year. Just very, very high on the talent in a field like this.
Yep, very much so. I think he was somebody that I would say maybe on steroids of the Del Rey year, where kind of shocked he didn't capitalize enough to be on the PGA Tour right now, right? Would have, I mean, now he's probably, the clear top 10 guys, but you're still getting him in an odds range enough that like he's probably better. He's better than Del Rey. He's better than some of these other guys, and he's 60-1.
He would have been 28-1 at this time last year, I think, like in a field like this. So,
yep. That was one thing where like kind of doing again a lot of this research, seeing how heavy these odds change. I mean, we were betting Penge deep last year early in the season. You definitely get to have at least some time to at least catch up, hopefully, on guys that you think of. We have one that we're aligned on at triple digits coming up here that I think is in that same category. But why don't you go first with your next bet here before we get there?
Again, playing the long game. We saw this guy win on the European Tour. We saw this guy win on Live their first year. But Hennie du Plessis is coming off of, I think it was a wrist injury, possibly a back injury, but he was out for, what seemed like close to 18 months. He came back at the end of last year and had back-to-back top 5 finishes in South Africa. And then he made the cut at the Alfred Dunhill Championship, top 25 in Mauritius the week after, and then was top 20 last week at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. So big fan of the talent. Again, really long and straight off the tee, which is exactly what we're looking for. Obviously has, winning upside. But Hennie du Plessis at 80-1 made my card.
Yeah, he I think he won or lost in a playoff on his literal first event back out of nowhere.
Maybe he didn't win, but I think and that first Live event back in London in 2022, I actually don't think he won.
Yeah.
I think he lost in a playoff there as well, but he made like $8 million that week.
Right. He made it was a payday for him. Yeah, like those are I remember like being so happy for that type of player when it got off the ground. But yeah, he was off the map forever, came back immediately his old self. I think makes a ton of sense. And we talked before in the show, like you go 80 and up here, like we could probably each bet a dozen unique golfers and feel like we could land some places here. We aligned on the next golfer up, Xander Lombard. So on our show between you, me, and Tom to preview 2026, Xander Lombard was a golfer we mentioned that, hey, he is going to probably be sub 40-1, potentially immediately on the DP World Tour. We've been betting him for, again, what feels like forever. He won Q School by, 10 strokes basically. And then after Q School, he also played decently too. He was 5th in Mauritius to close out the calendar year. Last week, T26 in Dubai. We know he has the off the tee caliber. It's not as good as what it was pre-injury. However, I don't understand why he's 100-1 here. Do you?
No, because we bet him in Mauritius, or maybe like the week prior, but he was in that 40-50 range. And again, he was like borderline top 25 last week in a very, very strong field. So I have no idea why he's 100-1 this week. He finished runner-up here to Fratelli in 24, didn't he?
So I looked at that event. So that was when he was playing the best golf of his career, right? He had, I think, 6 top 25s in a row leading into that. That week, his odds were 20-1. He was 4th favorite that week. It was Rasmus, Yannick Paul, Jordan Smith, and then Xander Lombard on the top of the odds board.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, I would argue he's almost playing that well now, considering what he just did at Q School. So yeah, I think it's a crazy price. Again, he's not any sort of prolific winner. He's still never won an event other than Q School. But yeah, that was an easy click this morning.
Yep. Played again, decent. Like it's nice to get a lot of these guys off the ground in Dubai. Of course, I mean, he could have grown on that, but the better you play there, you're probably going to be cutting into your odds.
Yep.
Like we both are aligned here in the next call for Rikyu Hoshino at 110 to 1, I believe is the best odds as of this morning. Hoshino has been somebody Tom and I targeted a handful of times at courses that you do play a little bit more driver heavy. That Qatar Masters, I believe Tom hit him as a winner when he outdueled Ugo there. McKibben was in the top 4 there too, just an event that plays a little bit more driver happy at times. Just a really good 2024 from him. And then going over the PGA Tour like he did last year, irrelevant, right? Like fall off the map, irrelevant type of year. And that is where like the interest definitely comes into golfers who now I think the second edition that we're going to have golfers come back after a failed PGA Tour season. They definitely get forget about mentally because they were poor play over there, but then odds often like aren't really catching up to how good they were in that 2024. Like he was clear a top 10 player on the tour, and here we are a year later in events that he saw for the first time, didn't play well, got uncomfortable. Now you come back and you're probably feeling yourself a little bit more. Hopefully a T14 in Dubai with really good ball striking, especially Sunday. I'm in.
Yeah, for sure. So he also had, I think it was a neck injury last summer, missed pretty much the last 3 to 4 months. Like he didn't play from the Open Championship, which he was hurt in, until October when he came back. So yeah, I really liked what I've seen. Obviously, he had a top 10 at the Butterfield Bermuda as well. So that's a much stronger field than you're seeing here. He did finish 12th here in 2024 and then won the next week in Qatar, which I think is a bit of a comp course here when you talk about sort of the off the tee prowess that we'd be looking for. And he was great last week, like you said. I'm just pulling up the stats again, not sure how accurate all this stuff is, but he was very good off the tee and elite on approach. He also gained around the green. So I think with all these guys, like it's going to come down to putting, but at 100 to 1 or 110 to 1, whatever you got him at, I think that was also a very easy click this morning.
Yeah, totally. And he was like somebody, I had a few in here, and I think, again, you can kind of trust a little bit more of the success that they showed when they were DP World Tour players. Like, I think that's, I don't want to, you want to throw out that type of year, but we've also just seen some of these players come back and just be their normal selves, the following year. This is, I mean, again, you and I could go for another hour back and forth on different players that we like and, landed on and who we considered. I considered like the Gia monster here at 115, who looks to maybe have more off the tee game than I thought. We landed on a young guy we combined with. Who are you targeting now down the board?
Yeah, so I got one more here at 150 to 1. Again, I just think it's a bad price. A guy who we've been high on for years. You talk about the off the tee game has kind of been the hallmark of his game. He reminds me a bit of like a Laurie Cantor type, but I bet Veerman at 150 to 1. Obviously, like we've seen the winning upside. He hasn't had a lot of really high finishes, but he's now made his last 6 cuts in a row and was top 15 last week in Dubai. Granted, the stats are saying it was all short game, but like it's a guy who I trust his ball striking. I trust the off the tee game. I trust the upside. He's a multi-time tour winner. I just think 151 for a guy like that in a field like this, he could have been 45 to 1, and I probably wouldn't have thought it was a mistake. So I took Veerman this morning at 150.
Yeah. Some weird early ball striking for him numbers that don't seem to be his normal self. I mean, I think back to that Nedbank that he competed, the Nedbank when he outdueled, well, I mean, it's more like a pillow fight, but the pocket heater one where Veerman held on in difficult conditions. And I definitely think again, I mean, when we zoom out, we have been betting these golfers for a long time.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about. I mean, probably, back in 4 or 5 years ago, we're pretty decent on this talent, and I don't think that
Yeah.
much has changed overall in his career. But I mean, he has definitely shown. I mean, multiple wins in that stretch. Runners up. He competed, I think, on some co-sanctioned events too, and played well. I think Irish Open.
Yeah.
I remember Scottish. Yeah, for sure. All right.
He did make a driver change this year, but I don't see anything on the iron. So hopefully he can figure that stuff out.
I think that, speaking of driver changes, I think that'll be a lot of rage of Penge and Pock-Eater, who are very interested in betting this Torrey Pines and how they translate. But the new pick of the litter for us, I believe it's category 17 is my favorite category that exists on the DP World Tour, which is Order of Merit graduates from tours that feed into the DP World Tour. We've been talking about wanting to bet this guy. I expected odds to actually be drastically lower than where we got, and most places were, but there's kind of a rogue 175 to 1 on Yanhan Zhou, Zhou. He has, I think he turned professional probably when he was like 13 or 14, right? Very early. And he has already racked up, I think it's now 12 wins in his professional career. He won 3 times in 22. I think 2 of those might have been as amateur. One of them professional on the tour. 4 more times as, I think actually, no, he stayed amateur. He won 3 AMs events in 23, 1 on the China Tour, again as an amateur. And then 2024, won 2 more times on the China Tour. And then last year, he won 7 times on the Chinese Tour, 4 other top 5 finishes, played 2 DP World Tour events, made the cut in both, played 2 Challenge Tour Hotel Planner Tour events. One was a T14, the other was a miscut. I believe you bet him at one of those events at probably sub 20 to 1, right?
Yeah, 18, 19 to 1 for sure.
So again, what Baroff and Tom and I like to do is at least test the waters on success of translating onto the tour. I believe we're going to get him probably quite a bit on the DP World Tour. This category is above Q School. So actually I was shocked that we didn't get deeper into this rankings. I feel bad for like a Fred Biondi who's not even getting into this event from a Q School grad, but I definitely love to get these Order of Merit guys. 175 to 1. I just don't see why you don't take the risk. We don't have strokes gained data. Was there any strokes gained that we trust from? No, neither Volvo or Hanan had them. So we are literally just kind of out here in the Wild West with him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, one of the things, so you mentioned, all those wins last year, 3 of them came since November, right? Like, so he's been playing over the break. He's been winning over the break. Obviously, a lot of these players from China tend to have that same sort of mold of, driving accuracy, things like that. I don't think he's of that mold. I think he's more along the lines of like a Hao Tong Li, where he is plenty long off the tee. Obviously, is an above average putter, because you don't win 12 times if you're not an above average putter. Like obviously a big jump up in class for him, but at 175 to 1, like it is worth the shot every day. Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, we've talked Cameron Adam, who's 400 to 1 in here. We've talked Kota Kaneko, both of us. But what's Kota's odds?
It was like 100 or 110. So he was like half of Zhao.
So I don't. Yeah, right. Like, I mean, Zhao probably was better.
I would have bet Kaneko at 175 or 200 also. So
right. I didn't mind what we saw on Kaneko in Sony. Just no irons.
He ejected score on Sunday too. So.
Yeah, so I'm pretty intrigued at if we're going to get him and some. I wonder what he's doing from a schedule, because I believe he's got to have like a dozen Corn Ferry Tour starts too, because he did well in Q School, so he can play on the DP World Tour. He got a co-sanctioned event on the PGA Tour. He's now playing on the DP World. He's got the Corn Ferry. He's going to have a wild schedule. I hope he commits to one of them. I I would like to see the talent consistently. But yeah, so Zhao at 175. And then we each have our own final long shot. I'll let you tee up first.
Yeah, and I almost matched you on yours as well because obviously fits the mold. And then I look back and we hit the top 5 last year here at I think it was 80 or 100 to 1 last year on him. So, but yeah, just back to the guys who we are very high on long term. There's a 200 to 1 on Davis Bryant this morning. He did miss the cut in his last start down in Mauritius, but just very high on the talent. We saw the ball striking last summer. On both tours, on the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, and the Challenge Tour for that matter. Yeah, I just think it's a terrible price. We saw him earn his card. We saw him get through Q School. I think he is probably one of the top 40 or 50 players on the DP World Tour, and at 200 to 1, I don't need to see very much to go there with Davis Bryant.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, he's somebody that has to actually probably play well because he was the last guy in the field in the Q School rate. Like,
yeah,
you'd hope that he will get a consistent 5 events in a row here. You know, just because we're going to lose out on guys naturally with the schedules, but
yeah,
he has no wiggle room to not play all that.
And got off to a good start, you know, back-to-back top 15 finishes down in Australia. So
Yes.
I'm not worried about the miscut. He shot 80 the first day and just, you know, epic wins. And, you know, I'm happy to throw that one round out of there.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we'll finish with mine. You teed it up there. Ivan Quintero Gutierrez. I think of the old DP World Tour days where he was the bug in the stats that they had that showed him and Guido as the Scotty Schefflers of the world back then. Unfortunately, Guido didn't get to the same Scotty Scheffler level that Scotty's showing, but there's still time. But Quintero has just ho-hummed himself around on the DP World Tour and Challenge Tours for the last 5 years, 29 years old. You look at him, he's racked up multiple, like top 10s. If you look at his best finishes, Ras Al Khaimah, Bahrain, Johnson Workwear Open, events that just have to be blasted with the driver. His distance is as good as anybody in this entire field. Last week, I mean, he played horrendous the 2 closing events of the year. Last week was top 10 in off the tee. Believe he ended up finishing overall. Where did he finish? Still not that great. What, 41st, I think, last week?
Yeah, something like that.
But showed the pops that I like to see at somebody like him. I would probably say, like, you could have. He's not that far from a Del Rey, where Del Rey is at 50. And I mean, they're both Spanish, so I can kind of compare them in that way. So do you say that, I'm kind of short odds on Del Rey when he hasn't been that different than Quintero, or do you just take the shot on Quintero? You talked about the Bahrain finish last year where we bet him. I'm just willing to show up for the longest driver in this field with a little bit of life in Dubai and get on him for this week.
Yeah, I think the 200 is more than fair. I think you were probably taking a bad price on Del Rey, but again, he's part of the brand and part of the mold that sort of we're targeting this week. So I will never criticize anybody at 200 to 1. So
bingo. Okay. We'll give a shout out to all of our audio listeners. You can find us on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix, available on all your podcast platforms. Super appreciative of the support from Pat and the team that we get. Ryan, always enjoy having you on as kind of basically our extra wing with Tom as we rotate between us 3. So super appreciative of all the support. You can find Baroff on Twitter at Baroff247. Is that what, or no? What are the numbers?
427. Yeah, my birthday.
427. So you can find him there. So RB, if you can go with your card from the top.
Yep, we have Julian Guerrier at 35 to 1, Martin Couvra at 60 to 1, Henny Duplessis at 80 to 1, and then 5 long shots. Xander Lombard 100 to 1, Rikuya Hoshino 110 to 1, Johannes Veerman 150 to 1, Jan-Han Zhao 175 to 1, and Davis Bryant at 200 to 1.
Perfect. All right. I am going with Wenyi Ding 40 to 1, Alejandro Del Rey 53 to 1, Xander Lombard 100 to 1, Rikuyu Hoshino with you at 110, Yanha Zhu at 175, and then Ivan Quintero 210 to 1 for the week. You can double them all with Zalatoris and Haotong Li and cross exactas. I think that makes a lot of sense there. For the week, excited for Torrey Pines, excited for this stretch of the DP World
We
Tour.
also have, I guess we should mention, we have Hotel Planner Tour back this week as well. So a lot of very familiar names on the DP Tour lost their card last year. Guys like, Yannick Paul will be leading that field. So should have more of those names that we can talk about next time too.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And you had a great year. The Hotel Planner Tour can be a wild one, and you had a great year with that last year. So definitely
shout out Hard Rock for posting odds.
Yeah, 100%. So cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining Monday morning. We'll kick it off with this. Best of luck, everybody. And we'll see you next week again. So we go Qatar, and then it's almost time for the actual Super Bowl, the Magical Kenya Open. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you soon.
See you, bud.